Hey, name's Jack. In this video, I'm gonna put on some thoughts on the new season of Project Diablo 2, Season 7. Specifically, this video is about melee. As you can see, the game now has 60 FPS, as you can see at the FPS counter at the bottom. And this, gives a straight up buff to melee. It used to be so that in Diablo 2, melee was always lacking behind spells, simply because of how the game engine is running. Now that this game has 60 FPS, melee becomes a lot more viable. I've seen many other different builds that just perform better. I've seen some lightning zones. I've seen, some crazy stuff like bear sorcerers with enchantments. Personally, I think if you ever wanted to try melee, but you felt overwhelmed by the gameplay of it, then this is absolutely the league to try it. Right here I'm playing a werewolf that I was thinking about for a long time. It's a druid werewolf that uses Doom Word, and that is only possible because of the high amount of all skills I have from werewolf, which gives me attack speed. So we mainly just do physical damage, but I like the Holy Freeze aura, especially for melee. As you can see, it's really good. Together with werewolves like Fury, it's just like incredible amounts of damage. Another thing about werewolf, I love druid, and especially werewolf is just my favorite build of all time. Oh, I don't have my filter. My werewolf is just my favorite build of all time. And always used to be the case that werewolf barbarian was just way better in every way than werewolf druid, simply because of the fact that, well, at least in PD2, simply because of the fact that werewolf gets taunts, and especially battle cry in PD2, which reduces enemy physical resistance. So, and with that we just break resistances, right? So really high level werewolf bard will use the highest possible level battle cry to just, remove any physical resistances he come along. But now that there has been a good amount of changes, there's many different ways in which you can break physical resistances now. One of them is a new merc, which is getting introduced with this season. I'm going to show it to you. They've introduced Act 4 mercs. You get them here for Imperial. Let me get my gear for my merc so it doesn't get deleted. So we have two mercs, light and dark. If I remember correctly, the dark merc is a necromancer merc basically. So he casts Bone Shield, Bone Spear, and Teeth, and he casts amplified damage. And the light merc is the paladin merc. He casts Holy Nova, Fist of Heaven, and I think Holy Bolt. So a very early way on, and this is a huge buff to melee builds now, is to get yourself this dark merc. I'm going to not give him a weapon because I have to create one. I'm gonna give him my Dracools instead. Better probably.
I'll put that to good use.
Actually, no, he's a caster. It's actually shit, but whatever. And with that, very early on, let's say we're doing a CS run. Definitely not with this crazy gear that I have, but this guy that sits in the back and casts amplify damage first, man. Let's see if he can do it. You got Teeth, Bone Spear. There you go. That was it. Start casting it. Maybe he only does it on like certain enemies. Yeah, right there. He did it. So this is such a huge buff to melee, this new merc, that melee I think has become actually very viable as a league starter now, considering how much damage melee can do. One of the problems that still melee has is fixing your attack rating, and the other problem is obviously you need the weapon, right? You can't do melee without the weapon, especially on werewolf. So nevertheless, like, I think this merc alone just makes melee extremely viable early on. In this phase where you transition from after finishing Hell and you're like starting to farm gear, doing like CS runs, doing Mephisto runs maybe, you know, doing Hell cows. Very nice. And if you ever wanted to try melee, this is the season to do it. Well, that's pretty much my thoughts on melee for this season. Of course, this is still the closed beta, so there might be still some changes coming to melee. Another change, maybe you've noticed, is this open wounds damage per second. I haven't tried this personally, but from what I've seen, it needs some certain buff. Maybe they buff it. Maybe they'll, maybe you'll be able to play like a whirlwind bleed barb. Would be something interesting. You could also play maybe like a bleed werewolf. You just apply bleed stacks as fast as possible, and then just run around when you hit enough stacks. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, I do mainly like ARPG content. Leave a subscribe, leave a like. See ya.